Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic, and now this is episode 7 of the 10 days, the 10 videos, the 10 topics series, and today we're going to talk about the numerology of ascension, okay? And numerology is something that is quite new to me, okay? Yeah, it's come in and out and we look at that, but in regards to creating tools, using energy tools, that incorporates numerology is something new to me here at Truly Holistic, and there's been a real emphasis on it. And again, it's it's just been brought to me, this information. Again, true intuition. I haven't searched for it, and I'm definitely getting guided towards bringing numerology in. And for a wee while, I've always used geometry, and you can see all the geometry behind me there. And the last episode we talked about using the geometry to amplify intent. Okay, and that's what we do here at Truly Holistic. Okay, it's just what I do, right? And then, I got into cubit measures, okay, which are a specific sacred length or measurement that anchors through a tensor field a spectrum of frequency. And in regards to cubit measures, Slim Sperling in the early 90s brought through that Royal Sacred Cubit, which was the 144. And so that was a specific frequency. And then he brought out the 177, which was called the Lost Cubit. So it was anchoring in specific frequency to do a specific job. But a lot of the cubit measures that have been coming through of late, and the ones that we use here at Truly Holistic, which are unique to Truly Holistic, they were things that were dowsed and brought to me to do a particular job, are not a specific frequency. They cover a spectrum of frequencies, okay? And so all of a sudden we started to incorporate making tools, not only geometry, but bringing cubit measures into that, okay? And when I talk about cubit measures or a tensor ring, there we go, there's a tensor ring there. That's twisted wire, and we use copper for a majority of the tools. We also do use silver occasionally, depending on what brings in or anchors in that frequency or that spectrum of frequency better. And one of the cubit measures, silver seems to be better than copper, but for most of the cubit measures we use here, copper does the job best. Okay, so that anchors in frequency. And now all of a sudden we've started to incorporate numerology into our geometry too. And I'm going to show you a geometry piece or a tool that I've incorporated that I have on a spinner that has all of those three components in it: geometry, cubit measures, numerology. Okay, and that's pretty powerful. So the type of numerology and bound to ascension is the numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, it's like stepping stones in regards to ascension. Now, for a wee while ago, and what we covered in the Holy Grail episode was the geometry of consciousness is the Merkaba, and we can see the Merkaba back there. Okay, and we found out at that time also the number 6 was connected to consciousness as well. And at the same time, when I knew that geometry was the geometry of consciousness, I also knew the geometry of love was the Chestahedron through Frank Chester, right? Who found that the physical heart was within the geometry of a Chestahedron, and in particular the left ventricle of the heart. So, and then all of a sudden at that time I was told that 9 is the numerology of love, okay? So the very first tool that I ever created that was bringing in sacred geometry but also numerology together was the tool which I just called the 6 and 9. Okay, so it's made out of steel. Okay, so stainless steel. So we didn't need the copper to anchor that energy or facilitate that energy through. But this has been made by the spiral ratio. Okay, so that's the geometry that comes in within this. It's been using the spiral ratio, and we also brought the numerology of 6 in. Okay, and then when you flip it around, then you get 9. I hope that's coming up on your end of the thing, but sometimes it flips around. So you get the 6 and 9 within this tool. So I created this tool to help with people with the 6 with meditation, because when you think about the practice of meditation, what is it to do? To silence the mind, okay? And now we've evolved so fast, so much since we brought this tool to the public. We found out, obviously, that the mind is something that we really need to avoid, and we need to get into that heart space, okay? Now, the heart is where we are more in the now, more in the present, right? And we feel a more control of how we express our energy in motion, which is emotion, okay? And when we're here, we kind of lose control, and our life is very much up and down like a roller coaster, right? So a lot of the times people practice meditation is when their world or their life is up and down, right? And they're stressing out, okay? And stress is where we have no control, really. And when I talk about real control, that's about surrender as well, which sounds like a contradiction, but when we surrender ourselves, it allows us just to be in control, actually. Okay, so when we're stressed out, of course, then we practice meditation. And a lot of people just think of meditation: close your eyes and cross your legs, and use visualization and concentrate on the breath. So what's concentrating on the breath? Bringing your focus back into the now, creating awareness. And when you create awareness, then you create consciousness, right? So meditation doesn't necessarily need to be that. It could be just doing something you love to do. If you're a gardener and love to get out in the garden and pull weeds out, well, that's great, because you're bringing your awareness to the now, and all you can focus on is that alone, and hence you feel relaxed, don't feel stressed. And we feel stressed when all of a sudden our focus has been drawn away from ourselves. Out here, a number of things, and we're scattered. We're all over the show. So meditation is silence the mind, right? Which is getting away from the mind and getting here. So this particular tool was created for that reason, that you could sit above the 6, which will help you with getting back into here instead of here. And then you could flip it around and use the 9 to actually bring that feeling of love. Okay, and the word love has been so distorted in this reality. We need to get into the feeling of love, not the label, not the word love, but the feeling of love. And I was actually told that if we connect to the word ease, it gives us a better appreciation for the feeling of love than the word love does, in fact, okay? The love is really being used as a brand in this reality, and we need to get away from that. And this whole aspect of we need other people to fill that void of love. We need love from others. No, we don't. We need to love self, because that's where love comes from. Love comes from within us through here. Okay, so that was the first tool that we created. And we've been using that on and off, and it's a great personal tool to have at home. And of late, it's resurfaced in regards to using it with other geometries, and we're going to show that in a minute. So 6 is awareness and consciousness, and this connects to also Tesla when he said 3, 6, 9, okay? Now, the way that I look at 3, 6, and 9, and you'll hear a number of people talking about what he meant by 3, 6, and 9, is that 3 is very much in line with a place where we were very much 3D, right? We were in a plane of existence where we were heavily mind-orientated. And when we're heavily mind-orientated, we're mind-controlled. Okay, so we had no awareness, therefore we had no consciousness at 3. Now, at 6 is when we bring awareness to self, and we realize, hey, we have been mind-controlled. And now all of a sudden we can create consciousness because we have awareness of self. That's 6. And then 9, obviously, is the goal that we want to get to, is that feeling or that energy that sustains us, because it makes us feel amazing, right? That's what the feeling of love is, okay? And time is relative in that feeling, right? When you're doing something you love to do, right? you think, oh, 5 minutes has just gone by, but an hour's gone. And it's like, wow, what happened there? But if we do the opposite to that, and we're having to do something that we hate to do, and we're like, oh, dreading it, and we're doing it, and we think an hour's gone, but only 5 minutes is gone, right? I know you understand that. We've all been through that. Okay? It's a feeling, and a feeling where nothing could go wrong. Everything feels right. Okay? So that's 3, 6, 9 in regards to simplicity of it. Okay? And a lot of these videos, I want to put it in a way that's very simple and easy to understand. Okay? The reality out there, right, has made it complex for you to understand things for good, well, not good reason, but they've done it on purpose. So therefore, that's why we create the society or label of an expert. Okay, well, it's just too complex for me. The expert will tell me, no. Let's simplify everything. And when you look at the world as geometry, numerology, and symbolism, then all of a sudden the world becomes a lot simpler. Okay, that's what I've found anyway. So 6. So the numerology of ascension, we start 6 because that's all of a sudden when we are aware that we actually have some capabilities. We have some power because we are creators, right? We've been talking about that in other videos. So 6, that's when we have awareness of self and hence a consciousness, okay? That's when the consciousness can now reside here, okay? Because that on this end, as I said in the first episode of the Fire in the Sacred Heart, that's the end of a gateway which we call the Sacred Heart, okay? And hence why the heart is a beating organ. Okay, so we know about 6. What about 7? What's 7, okay? So 7 is when we create a greater connection with our higher aspects of our consciousness, okay? The tool that I call the ascendant is 7. There are 7 rings made up of this tool. So it's a geometry, it's the lotus petal, okay? It's the seed of life, but also it's made up of 7 rings. So 7, okay? And it's also got the cubit measure of our ascension cubit that was brought to me. So we incorporate all that within that geometry. Okay, it's a wonderful tool. Now, this is a tool that creates a field of about 13, 14, 15 feet, but it's something you want to have within that distance. And what that tool does is it connects you to your higher aspects of your consciousness, which are called your ascendants. Hence, the tool is called an ascendant. Okay? Now, the key thing with this, though, and what we're going to talk about, because energies have shifted where duality has been pushed aside, and this energy of neutrality is now a lot closer to us. Okay, we can connect to that neutrality energy, and what that does, it allows that higher aspect of our consciousness, our higher aspects of ourself, not only to connect to it through intuition, but to bring it here on this plane of existence. And then the next step is all about casting that energy out on this plane, which is all about expanding your auric field, your touch, okay, and connection on this plane. Therefore, your ability to manifest, your ability to have abundance, okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the next video, talking about the auric field, okay. So that's 7, okay, that's 7. What's 8? What's 8? Okay, now the next thing is 8 is about expanding your auric field infinitely, having connection all over this plane, this reality. Okay. And that's where we're going next. At the moment, with the neutrality energies coming through, okay, which neutrality is limitless capabilities. Duality was limited capabilities. Duality was here to limit our capabilities, okay. And we were limited when we were at 3. I tell you, things are moving in the right direction. Okay, we're not 3 anymore. We're not 3D anymore. Now, the infinite, okay, infinity symbol is 8. Okay, because if we got that, there's 8, put it on the side, infinity. Simple as that. I've recently been brought, a cubit measure has been brought to my attention, which is the specific cubit measure that connects to that energy of the infinite cubit. Okay, I haven't been able to release it to clients and the public yet because we're not there yet. But I've already been given plans of what is going to happen next, and we're going to be talking about it more in the next video in regards to our auric field, because it is in line with what our auric field is and where our auric field is going to go. Okay, so that's 8. Okay, infinity, or the infinity symbol. So all of a sudden I created this tool. Okay, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. And it was like, again, I don't name the tool. I go into my charts and I go, well, what are we calling this tool? Once we got all the pieces of the puzzle and told me to do all this. And it called it the light caster. And at the time I thought, okay, light caster. So, and then all of a sudden I got this big download that, hey, 6 is one step, 7's the next step, as I say. Awareness to self here, 6. Connection to your higher aspects of yourself, 7. And then 8 is to have infinite reach, okay, with your auric field, okay. So I was thinking, okay, our light is our higher aspects of ourself. That's our light, okay. And I was actually told also, and I think I mentioned in the previous video, that analogy where we are a holographic projection of light that comes from our source and our ascendants, okay. It's light. And then when we verbally use our intent, what were we doing? We're casting that. So the whole thing about the next step for us, and we're going to get more detail about that auric field, I don't want to talk about it a lot here because we're talking about numerology, is that we then expand that light. So we cast that light out. Okay, so hence the name of this tool, because we're incorporating 6, 7, 8, 9 within that one tool, right? Okay, so the 8 and 9 have not been activated yet. 6 and 7 have, okay, and hence why we have the activation qubit that is brought forth, which is all about bringing us here, okay. So it's 6. 7, okay, that is also 6 because of the numerology of 6, right? So it's gonna, this light cast is all about bringing our power here, okay, bringing heaven here. It's not about getting on a spaceship and saying, see Earth, we're out of here. It's about bringing your power here, and we're going to transform your perception of reality, because ascension is all about creating the right perception of reality. Because it doesn't matter where we fly off to, if our perception hasn't been sorted out, it doesn't matter where we go, it will never be good enough. Okay, so it's always been about translating or transmuting your perception of reality, ascension, okay, and bringing your power here, okay. It's you being within your power, okay. You being created by the image of God, and the image of God is your higher self, your source self, you, and bringing that aspect of outside of this reality and bring it here, okay. And that's what we're doing now. Now, before we go to this tool I'm going to show you in a minute, is the numerology of 5. Now, the government building of the United States, what is that? It's the Pentagon, right? So it's 5, right? 5-sided geometric form. Now, do you know what 5 is? 5 is the archons, okay? Now, they've been a consciousness that really have manipulated and distorted our perception of reality. That's why we had to go, through 3. Okay, if we go back to Tesla with 3, 6, and 9. That when we were controlled, who were we controlled by? The archons. Okay, this whole thing about David Icke talking about Saturn and the moon and that connection. Who's at the core of that? Archons. Okay, the reptilians come into it too, and the archons were a reptilian. The archons were a modified reptilian with AI, okay? Now, the archons are all about this whole demonic, pedophilia ring stuff, all the satanic stuff going on in the world. That's archons, okay? So a source of energy for the archons is the numerology of 5, and what is the geometry? Pentagon. At the for a long time we've been looking at all the agencies, the CIA, the FBI, you name it, and we're clearing archon energy everywhere. It's archon energy central. Okay, but I've got some good news in regards to the archon. The archon consciousness is ascending. Okay, because our reach is getting bigger and bigger. We are winning. Okay. It's just a matter of removing the programming, okay? It's not necessarily about removing all these archons everywhere. It's about deprogramming ourselves with the programming that they place within this vessel, this interface. As I said in previous videos, this human form is an interface within a simulated reality for a consciousness. We want to make sure it's our own consciousness. But the archons have been really programming us to a great detail. That's why we have the world today. Okay, so it's not necessarily about removing reptilian archons. It's about removing the programming of the archons, the reptilians and so on. Okay, so there is good news in regards to the core of where that energy comes from, that consciousness comes from of the archons. That consciousness is ascending, which means they're going into a higher aspect of their self field that they are no longer a problem to us. Okay? And that's why it's so important to connect to our higher aspects of our consciousness, because when we create that field and bring it here and we expand it out, everything within that field has to ascend as well. Okay? And that's why I've always said we don't fight fire with fire. We don't blame people. We don't get angry with people. We throw love. Okay? We throw love. And when we throw love, we ascend their vibration too. And therefore, they have to connect to their divine self too. Okay? And that's the ultimate protection. Okay? So let's have a look at this tool to finish off the video. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to bring you with me. Right, so this is the design here, and I've got it on a spinner. Okay, so what you'll see here is you've got the ascendant, right? So you've got the 3 rings on this side, and then you've got 3 rings on the other side, and then the 1 ring around the outside. So that's 7, right? Now you've got the 6, 9 tool in there as well, and I've got that situated as the 9 because I'm kind of at a place where I can take the energy of the 9. And then we've also got, if I bring around this side, you've got the infinity there, which I've got standing upright like an 8. Okay, so this tool here is incorporating geometry, cubit measures, as well as numerology. Okay, and this is where we're going. Okay, this is where we're going big time. And I have this spinning around in this room all day. We've been using that with clients as well. But when you spin it, it really does create a bigger field. So I've been using that particular tool and that's our evolution, folks. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and we've been using that, incorporating that within sessions of late. It's been a big deal. So I hope everyone's enjoyed this video. And the next one's going to be a beauty. Do not miss the next one. And this is where we're really on the brink of really transforming this plane, okay? And where we bring our power from our higher selves, because that field of duality, that ceiling's gone now. We can connect to that field of neutrality. That field of neutrality is bringing that higher power outside of this reality and bringing it here to transform this reality. And when we transform this reality and we expand our auric field, then I tell you, we are going to become the creators that we're always supposed to be, okay? Abundance, manifestation, all these sorts of things. And when our field expands, everything that will be within that field that never wanted to ascend to a high vibration, and they were here just to mess around and play us around, will not have any choice anymore. They'll either have to stay and ascend with us, all have to leave. And that's pretty exciting. So don't miss out on that next video. That's going to go a blinder. Okay, until next time, see you later.